Good morning. My name is Jim Barry. I'm the Service and Installation Manager with MMS Medical, and I'm responsible for all the platform lifts in MMS. I'll be your contact for advice for suitable products, installations, site surveys, and quotations for any of the products you need. I'd like to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to attend this morning's webinar. This webinar is hosted by Chris Hay, who is the Global Business Development Manager for Terry Lifts UK. The purpose of the webinar is to share all the relevant information on the range of Terry Lift products and what is required to prescribe them for your clients. Just to let you know, we have also purchased a demonstration lift that will be installed in the Cork showroom after Christmas. Please note that this webinar is going to be recorded and will be made available for any of your colleagues or for you to look at again. So I will now hand you over to Chris. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Good morning, everybody. As Jim said, I'm Chris from Terry Lifts. And the purpose of today's session is just to give you a bit of an understanding about the products that we offer and how to generally select the right product for the right situation. So I've been working with Terry Lifts for over 15 years now with the products. I'm an ex-installer, so I used to fit all of the lifts before going into sales. So I've been responsible for a couple of thousand of these products going in, I would have thought, over the last 15 years. And I'd just like to tell you a bit about our products. So I'll start with a presentation. And this is just a brief overview of all of our products. Can we all see that on the screen okay? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so about Terry Lifts. So we've been specialising in the design, manufacture and installation and servicing of home lifts for over 50 years. We're a proven and trusted supplier to both the public and the private sectors. And all Terry Lifts products are designed and manufactured here in the Cheshire in the UK. We do a complete range of lifts for the public access, domestic use, including platform lifts, step lifts, and through floor lifts. Customers are supported by a comprehensive lift maintenance package and repair services that we offer. High quality lifts, which are designed and manufactured to meet all the latest standards, including BS 5900 2012 and BS 6440 2011. We have a wide range of styles and sizes to accommodate users, whether they be travel standing, seated, independently in a wheelchair, or in a wheelchair together with a carer. They're very customized, optional extras and accessories are available. And what we'll cover today is the Harmony semi-open top lift range, the Harmony fully enclosed range, step lifts, and the Melody 1 and 3 lifts as well. Okay, so we'll start with the Harmony semi-open lift range. There'll be time for questions at the end of this, by the way. So if you think I'm going through it a bit quickly, please use the web chat at the side, and then we'll be able to stop and answer any questions at the end. So you can see the Harmony through floor lift just there. And what these pictures are indicating is that the lift can be sent out of the way. One of the biggest misconceptions with these lifts is the room that they take up within the property. And what this is indicating is that it can be sent out of the way and the room used whilst the lift is not in the room. So it's a hydraulic 2-stop domestic wheelchair lift. Can take a seated person or a person within a wheelchair. Single entry and exit only, so you go in and out the same way on the lift. And it's freestanding to allow uneven or offset walls. It's a freestanding lift, although it's always shown up against a wall to maximise the space within the room. It doesn't actually fix to the wall behind. It fixes to the lower floor, the mid floor and the ceiling above as well. So unobtrusive to maximise the space at each level when the lift is parked at the opposite level. So the standard features, it's fully compliant to BS 5900 2012, 4 different car sizes available for the different wheelchairs. Smoke detectors and fire seal come as standard on our lifts. It comes with a manual door or a powered door, simple battery backed up and manual emergency lowering. And what that means is that the emergency lowering is a simple draw cord rather than winding or anything like that to get them down. Wireless remote control landing stations, so we don't run any cables from the lift to the control stations. Low profile floor and ramp construction, so there's no need for a pit or anything like that. The wheelchair can just glide straight into the lift. And there's no wall fixings required, as mentioned before. The floor and the upper ceiling are the places where the lifts are fixed to. Safe edges to all moving surfaces. Now, we'll demonstrate that on our live demonstration later, so you can see exactly what we mean by that. So there's one of the control stations. So the one on the walls are wireless, and the one inside the car is magnetic as well. So that can be positioned on either side for users that are left or right-handed. They're on the walls at each landing, and as I say, it can be adjusted alongside the car and put on either side for people that have lack of movement. There is also a set of hardwired controls with the back of the lift, just in case the batteries were to fail for whatever reason at all. So there's a fire seal and safety edges. The fire and the smoke seal is wherever our lift is parked. So if the lift is parked upstairs or downstairs, there will be a 30-minute fire seal between the two floors. And the underpan and trapdoor act as safety edges. And what you can see on these photos, the bottom left-hand photo shows somebody on the trapdoor. Therefore, if the lift was going to travel upwards, it would recognise there's some weight on there and stop. And then the middle photo is just showing that any obstruction as the lift travels downwards will cause the lift to stop as well. So the 4 different carriage sizes that we do, we have the standard, the longer, the wider, and the longer wider. And the sizes of the car can be shown just on the side there, the internal car sizes. The standard and the wider lift can both lift 280 kg, but the longer and the longer wider has to be dropped down to 250 kg, as it says just there. Yeah, so the Harmony options, it can come with a telephone, which we insisted people live on their own, a powered door, which auto closes and is pressure sensitive. And what that means is the user doesn't need to worry about closing the door behind them. It will automatically close after a set period of time. And the pressure sensitive part of it means that it will back away if there's an obstruction there as well. So these lifts are only designed for seated or wheelchair users. So if they're not a wheelchair user, then we can put a fold-up seat inside it. So if they're a combination of both, where they have good days and bad days, you can fold the seat up out the way for a full-time wheelchair use, or it can be dropped down to walk into the lift and be seated when a wheelchair is not required. Should the user be over 125 kilograms, then we can have a heavy-duty fixed seat as well, which doesn't fold up out the way, but allows the lift to be used by a walking person, if you like, rather than a wheelchair user. So alternative options, you can have any colour that you want. We're quite open to that. We can have large button controls, as can be seen just there. Extended travel, so the lift can go up to 3.6 meters floor to floor, and there's restricted headroom kits available should there be a low ceiling on the room upstairs. We also offer a full battery backup service. So in the event of a power cut, as standard, the lift will travel downwards, but it won't go back up again until the power comes back on. However, if you're in an area where there is known to be power cuts, we can provide an uninterruptible power supply, which means the lift will go up without any mains electricity as well. So common obstacles that we come across is the space available, the weight capacity and the size of the wheelchair, the headroom availability, user acceptance. Some people don't want a lift in their house. And common building work obstacles that we come up against are concrete floors, old building structures, floor levels, complicated services to the floor void, asbestos. And now we move on to the fully enclosed lift. So what we found a few years ago is we're getting many inquiries where a carer needed to travel with a wheelchair user at the same time. And due to the previous product that I've shown you having only for wheelchair or seated use, what we managed to do was extend the sides and put a roof on it, creating a fully enclosed lift. And this will allow standing people to use the lift. So this can take a standing user, a seated user, a wheelchair user, or a wheelchair user and a carer as well. And with it being a fully enclosed cabin, that made it a lot more rigid. Therefore, we could increase the weight capacity to 325 kg. So the principle is the same. It's a hydraulic 2-stop domestic lift, but it has an increased weight capacity due to the rigidity. This could take a standing person as well as a seated person, and it's ideal for an attendant when attendant is required for users who are ambulant. Single entry and exit only, the same as our other lifts. So you go in and out the same way. And it's freestanding to allow uneven or offset walls. Unobtrusive to maximise the space at each level when the lift's parked at the other level. Again, that's because our guardrails are back up against the wall. So standard features, it's fully compliant to VS 5900 2012. 4 different car sizes available, all with a weight capacity of 325 kg. Hardwired telephone is standard because it's an enclosed lift. Powered door comes as standard as well. Smoke detectors and fire seals are standard. Simple battery backed and manual emergency lowering, and that's the same as the Harmony as well. So again, wireless remote control stations are the same on all of our lifts. And it's the same with the ramp as well. It's the same lift, but with a roof on it, basically. So no wall fixings required. Again, could be freestanding if need be. Safe edges to all moving surfaces. Again, wireless controls exactly the same as on the Harmony. Wall mounted at the upper and lower level, adjustable inside the car as well. And there is the same backup unit inside that are hardwired to the lift. So just the same safety features as the lift before. So the underpan is fully protected in the down direction. We've got 8 micro switches in the down circuit, and then there's the same switches for the up circuit as well. So wherever there's a moving edge on these lifts, there is a safety feature to stop you managing to get trapped or hurt. Okay, so other options available, fold up seat, the same as within the other lift as well. And you can have grab handles on there as well to pull inside and out. Alternative colours on this lift as well. Large button controls and extended travel up to 3.6 meters. Again, you can also have the full battery backup if required. So these are the different sizes that it comes in. Standard, longer, wider and compact. And there's a small diagram there, which we can also share with you all afterwards, which just shows which product takes which. So as you can see, the compact at the bottom will only take seating or standing use, because that's a very small unit, generally used for maybe if the stairs are too steep. So it's a non-wheelchair user, but a stair lift wasn't feasible. One of these is ideal then, because it's a minimum space. And then we have the longer, wider, which is generally the one that we fit for carers and wheelchair users and attendants. And then we have a standard and also a longer as well, all with a 325 kg weight capacity, and the car sizes are shown there. So that's just a version of the compact one that you can see there. You can see how close the seat is to the front of it. That gives an indication that that lift won't take a wheelchair, but it will take a standing or a seated person. That's just a brief description of all of how our lifts work. So all of our through floor lifts have an independent motor and pump that we generally site on the outside of the property. That gives the impression that the lifts are almost silent because the motor's outside, and it maximises space within the property as well. And that's just a basic drawing of how they work. So as you press up, the motor sends some oil through the hydraulic hose into the hydraulic ram, sending the lift up and down. So the benefits of hydraulic. The Harmony lift duty cycle is minimal compared to other hydraulic applications. It's a very similar system that you see on a forklift truck, where you can imagine how many times a forklift truck goes up and down during the day in comparison as to what one of our lifts does. The duty cycle really is minimal compared to other hydraulic products. The lifting capacity is low when we compare to in other industries. Again, if you can imagine the sort of weights that forklift trucks are carrying in comparison to ours, it really doesn't put too much strain on the hydraulics at all. Wear and tear is minimal with long-term durability. Emergency lowering is simple, efficient and reliable. It is just a case of a simple draw cord, then the lift will lower itself down. Natural lowering speed restriction, no need for complicated OSG systems. It's a simple rupture valve that controls the speed in an emergency. Headroom is not affected by the motor above the lift, and the drive unit is hidden discreetly inside the left-hand guide, which will become more apparent when we show you these lifts in a short time. The majority of the load is down to the ground floor. Guides only accommodate the cantilever load. And there's no electrical circuit to the upper level. So upstairs, there's literally just the 2 guide rails and the way they're fixed to the ceiling. There's no electronics upstairs at all. That's a photo of the motor box that we were talking about. So generally, we'll try and put that on the outside of the house if possible to maximise space inside. But again, it's not a problem if it goes alongside the lift. That's where the motor and the hydraulic pump are sited. Wall or floor mounted, internal or external, up to 12 meters away from the lift on any level. Access hatch for the emergency lowering. That was the draw cord that I mentioned earlier to get the lift down in an emergency. And just to reassure you, it's very, very rare for you to have to use that. So our lifts have one circuit for travelling upwards and a completely separate circuit for travelling downwards. So should the lift ever develop a fault, 9 times out of 10, you'll be able to get back away in the opposite direction. The chances of it losing both sections of travel are quite slim, but we do have to have a way of you getting down just in case that does happen. So step lifts. So Amanda, I don't know if you want me to pause for a second in case anybody had any questions or anything like that at all.
Hi. Oh, sorry.
Hello.
That's okay.
Are we okay? Shall we carry on?
I booked into that as well.
Okay, so the step lift range that you can see on the photo there.
Recording of that.
You do.
Good, because I booked into it and I'll get it later.
Can I just please ask people to mute their microphones, please? Is that okay? Thank you. So onto our range of step lifts. So step lifts are to get up to front doors or maybe down to front doors in some locations. And this is just a brief overview of getting people into the property from the pavement. So our brief range, as you can see there, is the TSL 500, which goes up to 0.5 metre, the 1000, which goes up to 1 metre, the Melody 1, which goes up to 1 metre, and the Melody 3 lift as well. We won't touch on the incline lifts today. So the TSL 500 provides economic alternative for a short rise lifts, alternative to a ramp, anything up to 500 mil in travel. Really nice, small, compact lifts these are, with no moving parts anywhere, so you don't have any safety edges or clearances on these as such. There's just a ramp that folds up to stop the wheelchair rolling off the end. Maximum payload of 250 kg as well, up to 500 mil rise with a bridging step. So if pedestrian access is required over this lift, we can install what's called a bridging step, which we'll demonstrate later when you see the lifts in person. Up to 300 mil rise without the bridging step, because the close height is 80 millimeters, therefore it'd just be like a standard step. And minimal preparation is required with these lifts because there's minimal clearance required. So because it's within its own enclosure. The options, you've got the handrails on the top. So again, if they're required as it's going up to a door, people put handrails on them. Remote isolation, so it comes with a key fob. So if it's at the front of the property, you can stop people, the public using the lift. It can only be activated by the owner and user of the lift. Remote control operation as well, so we can provide that, so the lift can be controlled remotely. And it can also be installed in a pit if it was inside, so then there would be no ramp up onto the lift at all. And again, same with all of our lifts, they're available in alternative colours. It's designed up to BS 6440, safe working load of 250 kg. Closed deck height of 75 millimeters, and that's just an example of showing you the lift in the raised position, so you can see what it's like to get people in and out of the properties. Independent of main supply, so this lift actually runs off of 2 batteries. So without the power supply, I think it will do 30 cycles until the power came back on. So these do cope really well if there's power cuts in the area. No dedicated power supply. So the TSL 1000. That's the slightly bigger version of the lift that goes up to 1 metre. So again, 250 kg weight capacity, which is around about 38 stone. It's available with or without bridging steps. The 2 models that you can see there are the bridging step models. So in the lowered position, that leaves a set of steps behind for the postman or pedestrians or anybody else that might need to use the property. So again, remote isolation, remote control, exactly the same as the TSL 500, can be installed inside a pit if they were internal. Alternative colours, single, double or triple bridging steps are available depending upon the height of the travel. And it's also available with an upper level gate, as you can see on the top right hand photo just there. The reason that you've got a gate on that one is because there's plenty of room to have a set of steps to the side. Therefore, it saves people walking over the lift every time they come in and out of the property. There's just a couple of examples of the bridging steps in the raised and the lowered position. So on the right, you can see when the lift is accessed from the lower landing and the steps are in place. And then on the left, that's just showing you how it creates a completely level platform into the property for a wheelchair user. Worth noting, these lifts can only be used by wheelchair users because they don't have a full height gate on the front of it. Therefore, there's only the ramp to stop you coming off on a wheelchair. So these are for wheelchair use only. There's just the same photo of the upper level gate there. As you can see, that just keeps the lift and the steps independent of each other. So the Melody One. So should the user be not in a wheelchair, on their feet, or need a carer to travel with them, then you need the Melody One lift. The reason being that this is used is that it's got the full height sides and a full height gate on it as well. So there's no risk of falling over the edge. So again, maximum payload of 250 kg. So this will take a wheelchair user and a carer at the same time. Attendant use for the carer, upper level gate is standard on these, and you can have double or triple bridging steps, but only in domestic situations, which I guess is what you all work with anyway. And we do have a side exit version of this as well, which I'll show you a photo of shortly. Just there. So that's the side exit version. So you can see that in both the lowered and the raised position. Sorry about the quality of the photo there. It's a bit blurry. We don't do a great deal of these, but it's just to give you an example. If space is really tight, then you can get out of these lifts to the side. That's a nice picture of a Melody One outside of property. That one was asked to be done in timber. The preparation work for the lift was asked to be done in timber so that it could easily be removed afterwards. What you'll find is the concrete steps are actually underneath all that. So should the lift ever be removed, the timber work can be removed and the existing steps can be used up to the property. That's just the same lift taken from the top landing as well. So the Melody 3 lift is our biggest external lift. That travels up to 3 meters in height. Maximum weight capacity of 500 kilograms up to 2 meters, but it drops down to 440 when we go between 2 and 3 meters. This works more like our through floor lifts that we talked about earlier. So this has a separate motor box with the hydraulic ram inside the left-hand column. Again, motor sighted within 12 meters. So these just work slightly more like our through floor lifts in comparison to our step lifts. 500 kilograms will obviously take ambulant use as well as wheelchair use. You could get 2 or 3 people in these. Attendant use for the carer, and the only comes with an upper level gate, this lift does, so it's protected by a gate at both landings. There's just some more photos of the Melody 3. The one on the left there was done in stainless steel, and the one on the right is inside our showroom, which just gives an example of one that goes up to 3 meters in height. Okay, so that was the end of the slideshow. Does anybody have any questions before we go on to a live demonstration at all?
Yeah, hi, how are you? Thanks for that, Chris.
That's okay.
I'm just wondering, in terms of HSE funding, are they, I suppose, who funds them for? Are they privately purchased, or
Hi there,
are they
is there
funded through the
a
council?
life cycle option? You know, sorry, a life cycle indication. How many years could we expect a lift to last in Irish
If
weather?
it was serviced on time, we look to 12 to 15 years. And sorry, for the previous question, it's both local authority and the private market here in the UK. I'm not too sure how it works with grants and stuff in Ireland, but here it's paid for by councils and by private individuals as well.
Jim, you might know, do you?
Yeah, that's more or less the same here as well. We get a combination of people who can afford it will purchase it outright, and then there's a number of cases that they'll go for grants, and the grants are normally from the local housing authority. Now, typically for a grant application, I'd normally get called by an OT. I go and do a survey, give a proposal. I did one out during the week, which we had to alter some of the rooms as well. So we'll put together a package for the OT, and then the OT will write a letter and apply then for the grant.
Do you know what grant it is, Jim?
I don't. I
Okay.
don't do much on that side of it, to be honest.
And sorry, just another question
I think
on
it's
that.
I think it's a housing adaptation grant, I believe.
Okay, because I'm just wondering how much are the lifts?
It depends which one, and it depends which let's say the installation, and whether you want a seat with it or without, or whether the ceiling, whether it's a low sling or whether it's a high rise ceiling. If you want anything in particular, just drop me an email and I'll be able to give you list prices within a couple of seconds.
And just in terms of, because I do understand it goes on spec, I'm just thinking of the, you know, the
Yeah.
30,000 grant and having to do works, and then is 8,000 is the smaller grant. I'm just thinking, how much of the grant would it take up? Like, is it like roughly what are the?
Typically for a true floor lift, okay? Typically for a true floor lift would be less than 18,000 plus the VAT. Less than.
Okay. Okay. And do councils pay the VAT?
No, the user would pay the VAT, and then the VAT is reclaimable.
User, okay.
So
And
I could
what
go
is the
through
VAT
in
on them?
detail 13.5%.
Okay. No, that's just good
And
to have
typically
a bit of an idea.
And then
Thank you, Jim.
typically, once the invoice is paid, you'd get a receipt for the invoice marked paid in full with a VAT application form filled in, and then you just sign the VAT application form and send it off, and you get the VAT back within 4 to 5 weeks.
Okay, thank you.
If any of you have any other questions that you may think of after this, I'm always available to answer any of these. Just drop me a mail or pick up the phone, and I'll go through all of this in detail for your specific needs. Thanks.
Thanks.
Okay. Okay, just before we go on to the live demonstration, so I can show you the lifts going up and down and give a brief demonstration, I just wanted to talk just briefly about how we specify the products. As the most important thing is to determine whether it's a wheelchair user or a non-wheelchair user, or if they're likely to be a wheelchair user in the future, because that's the sort of be all and end all with our products. They're sort of either for standing use or for wheelchair use. So from the outset, that's the most important thing to consider, is whether they're going to be a wheelchair user in the near future, or if the wheelchair is going to change as well. Because when you're measuring the sizes of the wheelchair and the different size lifts that we do, it's important to know whether their circumstances are likely to change in the near future. So then we're guaranteeing the life of the product, really. So that's all I just wanted to say before I give you the demonstration. So are we okay to start that? Okay. Yeah. Oh, sorry, can you hear me now? Is that okay? Can we all hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Excellent, thank you. So I thought I might have been muted for a second just there. Okay, so this is the Harmony open top lift that we looked that was the first in the slideshow that you've seen earlier. And this one is shown with pink safe edges. So it's nice and easy for me to highlight the different safe edges. Anything that you see pink is what we call an up safety edge. So here's the wireless controls on the wall that we talked about earlier. So it comes as standard with a powered door. And you can see the door opening and closing there. And as I said earlier, backs away if it's obstructed at all. So that's the operation of the door. Then anything pink that you can see is what we call an up safety edge. So if I just call the lift up and then touch anywhere pink, you can see what's going to happen. So that's just going to straight away stop the lift. and anywhere that we touch will stop the lift. So anywhere where you could get your hand out or get trapped or anything like that, there is a safety edge to stop that happening. I'll allow the lift to carry on to the upper level just so you can see what's left behind, because a lot of times the property has restricted space. So what people tend to do is use the lift in the morning, come down, and then they'll send it back up again and leave it upstairs until the lift is needed. So as you can see, as the lift goes up, our guide rails are back up against the wall, about 2 inches off of the wall in the perfect situation. The hydraulic ram is located inside the left-hand column as well, so that's what's sending the lift up and down. And this is the space that's available when the lift's out of the way. So as you can see, if they go in dining rooms, you can bring the table in and do some entertaining. As long as the space is clear below for when the lift is in use, then there's no problem with that at all. So if I give the call, press the down button, one single press, and that's all it takes for the lift to start descending down. And then you see the safety edges under the lift. So wherever you touch on the floor, it will just stop. I'll just allow it to just touch, and you'll see it just cuts out straight away. And that is anywhere on the floor where you touch, the lift will just stop. You do have to physically touch it, but there is plenty of switches in there. There's actually a secondary set of switches as well, just in case the first set was to fail. And it's the same with the trapdoor as well. So the trapdoor that the lift picks up as it goes up and down, that also has a set of switches in it as well. So if there's somebody stood on top of the trapdoor, it's not going to carry on and squash into the ceiling. It recognises there's some weight on there, and the lift will just simply stop. Okay. What else can we say about this? So the hardwired controls are just at the back there. So if for any reason the Bluetooth ones were to stop working, there is a set of extra buttons just behind there. Just put them back on the floor just there. And that's a sort of overview of the lift. I mean, what you can see around here is what we call the fire seal. So when the lift's parked at the top landing as well, if in the unfortunate event there was a fire, these are what sort of stops the underpan coming down and creates the seal between upstairs and downstairs. And you can also see the smoke alarms as well. So every lift has one of them at both landings, upstairs and downstairs. And in the event of a fire, it will allow you to travel away from the fire and then isolate the lift until the smoke is not detected anymore. Okay. What I can now do is give you a quick, all of our lifts work on the same principle. So the rails are always up against the wall, and the hydraulic ram is always inside the left-hand pillar. So what I'll do is just show you some examples of the other products. So this is what we call the lifestyle lift as well. So this is only for standing use only, It's a funny shape, so it fits at 45 degrees into the corner of a room, as you'll see. Works on the exact same principle as all of our other lifts. So if I send it out of the way, what you'll see on this one is that the rails are slightly closer together due to the shape of the car, and this allows the rails to be pushed tight back into the corner. So this is just to give you an example of where the rails are when the lift's sent out of the way, as you can with all of our lifts. Same features as the Harmony, same fire seals, same smoke alarm, same hydraulic ram, same motor outside. They're all the same parts except the actual carriage itself. So I'll just let that reach the top landing, and then you can see the space that's available below as well. So just give you a brief, just to show you the safety edges on these as well. Wherever you touch them, it's just going to stop as well. So that's the lifestyle lift. Here in the UK, that's generally only in the private market. I've been doing this in sales for over 10 years, and I think I've only ever sold one to a local authority because they're slightly more expensive than what the Harmony range is. It was initially designed for the private market, but if we can get them into the local authorities, then all well and good. So the last one is the fully enclosed lift, which I've just cooled down now. I needed a bit of room in here, so that one was parked upstairs while we were doing this. So So this is the same as the Harmony lift, but it's the one that we extended the sides and put the roof onto it. The reason for this was to allow carers to travel inside the lift with wheelchair users, or for standing users to use the lift as well. With it being a fully enclosed carriage, it's a lot more rigid. So as I said earlier, this one actually does 325 kg compared to the 280 kg on the through floor lifts. So powered door is standard again. Just show you the door opening and closing. So these are quite big lifts, these are. Just so you get a good idea of the inside. They come fully carpeted. Just close the door and send this out of the way. They all work on the exact same principles our through floor lifts do. All of our lifts do. So they can be sent out of the way the same. And up the lifts go. So that's really an overview of our through floor lift range. What I'll do now is I'll go over to our step lifts and we'll have a look at some of them. Okay. Okay. Right, so this is our TSL 1000. This is the easiest one for me to do the demonstration on because it's got the bridging steps on it. It's got pretty much all the options available. So this is how it comes as standard with triple bridging steps. So this is the lift in its lowered position. Small ramp on the front that you can see just here. That folds up in motion to stop the wheelchair coming off the back. This lift runs off of 2 batteries. So all the hydraulics and everything like that, they're all inside this power pack, as opposed to having a separate power pack like you have on our through floor lifts, with a small power supply just to the side, just there. So if I send the lift up like this, you'll see the ramp at the bottom, that locks into position, and then you can see the lift picking up the steps as it rises. And then that gives full level access into the property when it reaches the top like that. There's some bellows around the side as well, which stop any access from underneath. And as the lift's travelling downwards, there's a safety underplan as well. So I'll just demonstrate how that works. So again, if the lift is travelling downwards and something or a person or anything goes under, I'll keep my hand on the button, the lift just stops. Then the lift won't travel any higher than 280 millimeters for safety reasons. So it won't go any higher than that until the ramp is locked into position, then it'll allow it to carry on its travel. Okay. Just give you an example of how the bridging steps go up and down. Okay. Next lift I can show you is the TSL 500. So this is a similar lift, only up to ½ metre in travel. And what you can see with this one here is just has a single bridging step, and this can go directly up to a front door or anything like that. This will only go up to ½ metre. You don't have the bellows underneath or anything like that. Hydraulic power pack's exactly the same, power supply's the same, ramp system's the same. Just give you a demonstration. Whilst this one is in the raised position, there is a blind underneath there that just stops any access to the other side. So there's no worries about clearance or anything on this one. With the other one having moving parts, it has to be a set distance away from the wall, which we can advise on a sort of case-by-case basis. But with this one all being enclosed, you can pretty much push it up to a wall. So the preparation work for this lift is quite minimal compared to our other products. Going into the down position, again, same with the ramp, that won't travel any higher than 280 millimeters for that locked into position. It's just the lift at the bottom as well. Okay, so Any questions about the two TSL lifts? No, we'll have time for some questions at the end anyway. So the only other two for me to show you is the two Melody, and this is for standing use. So the two previous ones, as I said, is wheelchair use only. Whereas these lifts are for either standing or wheelchair use. So this is our Melody 3 lift. So this travels up to 3 meters in height and constant pressure, the same as the step lifts. So just keep the lift going up there. This will lift up to 500 kilograms of weight and go 3 meters from floor to floor. Same as all the other products, it can be set upstairs and just parked up there and left there. Just going to give you an example of what it looks like when it lifts at the upper level. And I won't get too technical with how the lift works, but basically it's the same as our proof orders. I drive around inside the left-hand side, and then there's a chain mechanism which keeps us at this level. This is available with powered gates as well, should need be. The same with all of our products, the underplan is safety edge as well. So if I was to obstruct that anywhere at all whilst it's travelling downwards, I'm not going to reach on buttons. But you see, it just cuts out until the obstructions are taken. So this is anywhere from 750 millimeters up to 3 meters in travel. It can't go less than 750 millimeters due to the way the hydraulic ram works. Just give you a of the door as well. So there's the gate closed. Then finally, we have the Melody 1 lift. So this is the same as the step lift that I showed you earlier. However, this is for standing use as well. The reason being it has a full white gate on the front and the back as well. This is a rod that I mentioned earlier in the demonstration. So this is something that can only be used by a single person. And this works on the same principle as our 2 step lifts. So the lift rises to the top, and then you have the blinds underneath with the hydraulic system, all inside the casing on the lift just there. This is actually shown in black. This does actually come in stainless steel. This one's just black in our showroom. The lift will be the same colour as what the deck is all over. So stainless steel polished handrails is how it comes as standard. So same as the other lifts, safety panel underneath. So again, if the lift's travelling downwards and there's any obstruction, lift just stops straight away and then carries on when the obstruction's cleared. In domestic situations, this lift can come with the bridging steps, the stainers that you see on the other step lifts. And in public access places, it can only come with the gates. So the gate fires as it reaches landing. Here we go. Obviously, the lift won't travel anywhere until the gate's locked, and that's the same with the top gate as well. As soon as the gate's locked, constant pressure buttons, hold them till it reaches the top. 250 kg again, 38 stone. And then when it reaches the top, let go of the button, top gate fires. We do a slightly wider version of this lift. And we can also do a slightly narrower level gate as well if you restricted the space. That comes to the end of my live demonstration. I'll go back to my computer now just in case anybody has any questions. Right, hello there. Sorry about that. Right, okay. Does anybody have any questions for me now we've reached the end of the demonstration?
Hi, Chris. I just have a question about insurance. Can you hear me there?
I can hear you fine. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. I'm just wondering, in your experience, is there any sort of considerations or implications from an insurance perspective, including like house insurance, in relation to any of the products? And also,
No.
do you know if it affects premiums or anything like that for clients?
Not that I'm aware of. Most insurance companies here in the UK are happy to add them to policies at all. Yeah, as long as they're informed that they have a lift in the house, it shouldn't have any bearing. The structural integrity of the property, once the lift's been installed, it's as strong as before the lift was there. The fire seal is the same as what you get through a normal ceiling anyway. So yeah, as far as I'm aware, I've had no increase in premiums or anything like that. And all the insurance companies in the UK, as long as they're aware that the lift's in there, it shouldn't have any effect on it, no.
Yeah, even the outdoor ones.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, occasionally, I mean, you may need planning permission occasionally for some of the bigger projects. If it was, for example, one of the 3-meter lifts here in the UK, occasionally we need planning permission, but it's quite rare.
Okay, thank you. And actually, what's the typical cost of servicing, or what's involved in the servicing and maintenance of the lifts? I know that's a very broad, sweeping question, because obviously it'll be different to the lifts, but let's say, even for example, one of the indoor lifts.
Jim will be able to advise better on that, I think.
Yeah, depends on whether you want a service contract or for an annual service. It'd be the range of about 230 for an annual service.
Okay. And would that be the indoor, or what about the outdoor lifts, or is it similar?
For any of them, really.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Just a question in relation to weight capacity. Have you come across, I suppose, some power chairs can be up on 200 kgs, and with the person inside in it, like, it can be quite heavy. And I see that, I suppose, there is a weight cutoff. Is that something that comes up often?
Yeah, yes, it was, which is one of the reasons why the fully enclosed lift was designed as well. As technology, as wheelchairs get heavier and heavier, you'd like to think at some point the technology from batteries from cars will pass down to wheelchairs. But at the moment, as you rightly said, some of these chairs can weigh up to 200 kg. That's why we designed our the fully enclosed through floor lift, and that took the capacity. It used to be 250. That took it up to 325 kg, which is the biggest on the market. There is no through floor lift that can lift near that. 300 is our closest competitor, but at 325 kg we're okay. And also you have the Melody 3 lift, the external lift, that can go up to 500 kg. So yeah, I see exactly what you're saying, and that's why we offer the fully enclosed lift for them situations where a higher capacity is required.
Thank you. And in terms of installing and, let's say, through floor, I saw that concrete. So can you go through a concrete floor?
You can. It just takes a bit more work, that's all. So
Okay.
to go through a concrete floor, we just need to have the opening made 100 mil bigger and then 50 mil timber screwed around the inside of it, because it always has to pass through timber, you see.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay.
In terms of a tilt and space chair, which sized unit would work best for chairs such as a Rhea, Azalea, or an Ibis?
I'm not familiar with them brands of chairs, but I guess the longer, wider, Jim, would that be reasonable?
Yeah, that's it. Typically, when we come, when I look at when I survey for a lift, I take into account the type of product potentially that's being used or will be used in the future, and then that we brought into discussion whether it's a longer or a longer and wider platform would be required. But just to give you an example, we can then in turn check the measurements of whether it's an Azalea or whatever, but typically the standard model does about 90% of all the applications, and it's only then when you get tilt in space. But normally, the likes of a tilt in space can also be put in the up position when going into a lift, and where you possibly run into trouble when the person is quite tall, rather than a tilt in space chair. And but normally that will be discussed at time of quote.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll go up to
Yeah.
about 1.5 meters in the tilted position. Will fit inside the lift at an angle, sort of thing. So yeah.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Really appreciate your time today. Thanks to everybody that joined us. I'll follow up with the recording. And as Jim said, if they have any questions or anybody needs further information, just contact Jim and we'll get you the information that you need over the next while. Okay,
Okay.
thanks, Chris.
Thanks for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks
Bye
so
bye.
much. Bye.